Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our spotlight on Gies faculty at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, the Gies College of Business. Today we have Professor Eren Ahsen with us. He has been with Gies for 7 years. He's currently teaching an elective called Business Intelligence, which evolves in and around machine learning and artificial intelligence. Aaron, welcome.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you for hosting me. So I'm really
It's a pleasure.
here.
So tell me, what first made you decide that this is the career you wanted to pursue? How did you become an academic?
Well, I think let me go a little bit back to my education journey. So when I first entered university, I was a mathematician. So I started with the mathematics department. I love mathematics. Since my high school years, I always love mathematics. And it gives me a way of thinking. It's a big hobby for me. But when I read more and more, when I study more and more, it's a great field, but it gave me a little opportunity to make some impact on people's lives. So pure math, you prove theorems, you have everything. It's beautiful. It gives you a way of thinking, but it's not the way what I want to in my life. So during my second year, did a double major in electrical engineering. So as an engineer, I thought I would do basically more an impact. So I graduated with a double major from mathematics and engineering. Again, my purpose was to make an impact into people's life.
Mm-hmm.
Then I moved to a master's degree in control theory, which is a subfield of electrical engineering. But again, I was not that satisfied because what I realized when I went there, parts of electrical engineering was becoming more an academic than a practical field. So I just was on the looking and I was applying for a PhD. In fact, my PhD advisor was a former control theorist. So he was doing control theory, math, he's great. But I emailed to him. I was reading a book. So he's written a book, a very famous person in the field, a genius. He was get his PhD at 22. So when I was reading the book and reading his story, I thought, what is this guy doing? Where is this guy now? So what happened was he just retired from his job at India, and he came back to US as a faculty at UT Dallas. And he started the Department of Biomedical Engineering. So he just started a new field. And I wrote to him and he said he will be very happy to have a student like me. He just started. He needs very bright students. And he's encouraged me to apply. And he told me, you can do control theory like math and this, or I'm doing like machine learning in cancer research. That's why I'm active these days. So if you want, you can consider that. So this is year 2011. So it's not AI is everywhere. It's just, people didn't know what's happening. People didn't know what's AI. So
True.
that let me start my career in AI and machine learning. It wasn't a choice. It just things happen that way. And I started a career in this field and applying in healthcare. So I think now thinking back, that was the unintentional but important choices that was done at that point. So
Yeah. I mean, because today, obviously, all we talk about is AI.
Yep, and healthcare is always a big field and a good impact of AI, hopefully in healthcare. So I did my PhD in biomedical engineering. So I chose biomedical engineering. Then I wanted to get some, I was finally getting a little bit satisfied that maybe finally I would do something that can help people because I was developing algorithms, I was developing biomarkers for cancer. Then I would say, I want to see the and industry side of this as well. So, but not, like Amazon or Apple where we purely do products, but more an academic industry. So I went to IBM Research. So I spent 2 years there and I was working on projects with Mount Sinai Hospital. So IBM had projects with Mount Sinai Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 2 years, there was an issue with my visa and I had to switch to IBM to Mount Sinai to continue my work there. And I was in Mount Sinai in the genetics department as a faculty for 2 years. And during that time, I did all bunch of analysis with all bunch of healthcare data, including imaging data. Radiology. Can you predict cancer from breast images? Speech. Can you use patient speeches to detect depression? Or other proteomics. So can you use the protein data to predict and find some cancer biomarkers? So I was, hands-on with all sorts of healthcare data. But one thing that I did not like much there is that I didn't have much teaching. And being a business school, requires you not much hands-on work, but you have to write grants, you have to hire students and they do the work, which is great. And some people love it, but without teaching and without hands-on research, I thought this is not time for me. So I was on the look for a real academic university at that point. This is in 2019, and I was looking around. And what happened was, in my last year in PhD at UT Dallas, I, as a hobby, started collaborating with some professors from the business school. So we started doing some research. They told me, you have a great math. I have a paper that needs some math. So can you help me with that? So this is my introduction to business. I didn't have any education, but with this research, I started reading about business research. I started reading about problems, because one thing that I realized, why I was finding these algorithms in a medical school, even if they're successful, they need, unless someone uses them, they're not very useful. I built them with snippers, but at the end, I want someone to use it. And that comes the business part of it. You bring this to a CEO or someone at a company, they have to choose or not choose to use it. So that also lead me to read more on AI integration in operations, in business, in healthcare. So then I realized, and I was doing this research with business, getting familiar with that. I thought maybe a good venue for me could be a business school. So where I can do my research, I do my teaching, because in business schools, teaching is an important part. It's unlike, medical schools or even engineering schools. The research and grants comes first. But in a business, teaching is an integral factor. And one reason I love teaching is that, there was professors in my life that made me who I am today. So I want to give back, get something back to the next generation. So with that motivation, in 2019, I applied for business schools, especially business schools. And I was an outsider for them because I have no business experience, but I have at that point published 1 or 2 papers in this UTD 24 journal list, which is highly regarded by business school faculty. So that gave me some door, into the business role. So I get 7 campus interviews and a few offers, but I love the environment here at UIUC. We had a new medical school starting that's very synchronized with my expertise in healthcare. And we have strong medical schools, which is, collaborate with people in AI. So at the time, that for me was the best option. So here I am at a business school and my journey briefly, and I'm loving it right now. I'm teaching, I'm doing my research. So
that's fantastic. So now, what would you consider to be your most significant or meaningful finding in your research?
Yeah. So apart from my research, I am organizing data competitions. So what a data competition is, so you basically share data with participants, and rather than me building an algorithm, they build their own algorithm. So this is a fast track way of innovation. So a single person, you crowdsource innovation and you share data with people. And at the end, what made me realize was, and this is also related with AI. So these days we are trusting AI a lot. So everyone is using ChatGPT. We start more and more trusting into the AI. And we don't realize the challenges that come with that, biases, mistakes that algorithms comes from. So my competition experience made me realize that a single algorithm can make mistakes. But if you build this multiple algorithms coming from a data competition, and one beautiful thing about algorithms are they can be combined like expert opinions. Yes, you have multiple expert opinions, then you come with a opinion combining them. Algorithms are like, they make predictions. If you have multiple algorithms making predictions, you can combine them and come up with a more robust and more reliable prediction. So out of these many competitions I organized, this made me realize, don't rely on a single algorithm. But if you can, combine multiple algorithms and use the wisdom of the crowds in machine learning. So that's one take that I have throughout my years and research.
Now, does Perplexity do that?
I think they did it in a way, but mine is who in the competitions. For example, I do competitions at Gies as well. So every year we did a video healthcare conference, and I do competitions. I organize competitions, part of that as well. And this is also a great way to engage students as well. So these students, not much knowing about data science, they do these competitions, they get engagement. So I also use it great teaching tool as well. So competitions, wisdom of the crowd is a word that I love in my life and research. So
That's great. So I wonder if there's been a recent piece of research done anywhere in academia or elsewhere that's kind of influenced your current thinking. And maybe it's something you've done yourself, or maybe it's something from years earlier, like when you were doing imaging work to diagnose the potential for cancer.
yeah, so as I mentioned, John, so one reason I started this business research is, you have all these beautiful algorithms, but without properly using them, without knowing how to use them, they really
Mm.
don't make any impact. So, for example, these days we are using this LLM, large language models, which is based on neural networks. The neural network research has started in 1960. So it's been a long history, but it just made an impact this time because we have the right time, we have the right data, we have the data to use them, we have the right computational resources. So now we are trying to figure out how would we do integrate those in our everyday business workflow. So one book that has really influenced my thinking is a book that's called Power and Prediction by Ajay Agrawal and Joshua Gans. So
Mhm.
what this book does is it reframes AI not as a purely technical breakthrough, but as a force that fundamentally shapes organizational design and decision making. So basically, rather than focusing on the technical aspect of it, it also emphasizes how reductions in the cost of prediction change where human judgment is most valuable and decisions will be structured. So this is also related to my research. I love AI. I'm a very proponent of AI, but I think AI has a value if carefully integrated with human judgment. So we shouldn't just give everything to AI and let it do its magic. So we should come with a ways to basically integrate it with our human judgment. So that is a book that talks about that.
Right. Now, although I will say that in the early days of AI, after ChatGPT debuted, AI was much more likely to create, so-called hallucinations. And it seems less likely to do that today, even though it can still make up stuff. In terms of the evolution of the technology itself, are you seeing it becoming far more useful and far more reliable?
I think it's becoming much, much and better. But if you try to use this in a very high stake decisions and completely rely on that without any safeguards, I think the consequences will be not easy. So, like healthcare decisions, for example. So if it makes a mistake, although it makes a rare mistake, but still, if it makes a mistake, the cost of that will be some human life or treatment, wrong treatment. So we have to be careful, and that's what I mean. Designing it in a way that we use the efficiency of AI, but also having the judgment of humans in a more efficient way, so that we can minimize these mistakes to the past possible. But definitely, it's not ChatGPT from 2020. It's improving. It's improving definitely.
Yes. I mean, it's been said that the AI you use today is the worst AI you will ever use because every day it's getting better. You
Absolutely,
agree?
absolutely. It's not going back. So
So, among your students, I wonder if they have a misconception about your field, and if so, what it would be, and how do you help them kind of understand it?
yeah, I think the new generation, they grow up with phones. They technically, I think the next generation even will grow up with AI. So my son, for example, these days, he just talked with Alexa, asked math problems to Alexa. I mean, they grow with that. So for us, we have trust issues in AI because we didn't grow up with that. We see the
Mm.
evolution of it. We see it makes mistakes. We see it gets better. But the new generation, they're born with this. They're growing up with this. So this try to basically in my classes try to teach these challenges, not only the beauties or the benefit that comes with AI, but the challenges like biases. For example, I tell them your algorithm as good as the data that it uses. Yes, so if you use a data that already have this sort of biases in it, no matter which algorithm that you build on, it cannot create magic. So I try to highlight those challenges with AI. I I try to teach them, the issues, especially the bias and ethical considerations of AI. So, but what I see, John, so I start teaching this to 11, which is a business analytics class, my previous teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I start teaching, it's a mandatory course. So every business student has to take it. And we teach them programming. In 2019, people hated it. So the students, they had to take it, but they hate it. But what I see is that once they start and once this AI is being talked about and once they get feedback from employers that this is an important skill to gain, I see less and less resistance towards AI or towards programming in my previous, like this current years of teaching. So we'll see where the world goes.
So, Erwin, what's one real world implication of your research that you wish more business leaders understood?
So
Because business is becoming much more embracing of AI in its use, but it's still early days.
yeah, John. So part of my research that I'm doing is that how would you integrate AI and human decisions? For example, we design a workflow about delegation in healthcare. So right now we are working, for example, let me briefly talk about this research about, because I'm working in the healthcare domain. It is at least legally not possible to let the AI make the diagnosis. But what I am trying to find is still, are there ways that you can improve your efficiency using AI? I will briefly talk about one my research that relates to that, and we are trying to convince the leaders that is a good way. So what we are doing is that this is in the mammography space. So in a typical workflow, what happens in mammography is that a patient comes for the annual exam. It's an
Mm-hmm.
exam, and a woman, in this case, the breast cancer comes, and they take a mammogram from her, and they send her back home. And then a day later or same night, a radiologist reviewed that report. If there's a suspicion, they call that patient and ask them, we think there's a suspicion. We need you for some further exams. That could be a biopsy. That could be more diagnostic exams. So what they give another appointment in 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks, if you think of this patient's life, it's like a very anxious period. Yes, in 2 weeks,
Oh, definitely.
or not. And I won't say whether exactly or not, like 90% of these cases end up having no cancer. So we are making people anxious and a lot of people anxious for no reason. So we said and talk, how can we improve this process using AI with still having human in the loop? So what we designed was, well, when the patient comes, don't immediately let her, just let a quick read of AI. So basically a 1 minute read of AI. And if the AI finds suspicion, then send it to radiologist immediately. So change the queue. So the radiologist will still read everyone, but before it was first come, first serve. Right now, if AI thinks this is a suspicion, put it to first read, like the risky one will go to the first. So then the radiologist can look at the image in the next 10 minutes. If he or she finds some suspicion, then that patient stays, and we can do the same day diagnosis. This will solve a lot of issues and improve efficiency. One, some of those patients that go then never come back. So we
Right.
don't lose them follow-up. They don't have an anxious 2-week period, most of the patients. And we are still having the human in the loop. In every single decision, a human is still looking at it. So this is a way that we propose. We can just redesign the workflow. We are still having the human in the loop. Legally, this is possible, but we are also having improving lives. So this is one way we are trying to convince people. It's not an easy way because you have to change a lot of things. But that's what I want to say. When people use ChatGPT, everyone is accessible. AI is these days with use of ChatGPT is accessible to everyone that has a browser. But when you come in a real life world, the business leader should understand integration that efficiently is not an easy task, just writing a prompt in a ChatGPT. And
True. In this case, so what's good about your example is it's using AI as a collaborative tool to gain efficiencies in a problem area, but without taking away the human element.
absolutely. So you're keeping the human element, you're improving efficiency, you are helping people's life. It's not like if someone has cancer, I'm not curing cancer.
Right.
But for those who have not cancer, I'm saving them 2 weeks of anxiety time. And if you think 40 million people in the US get this annually, it's a huge impact and huge life. So
Yeah, same could be true with PSA tests for men.
Yep, yep.
So, Aaron, I wonder if you could finish this sentence for me. The business school of the future should have much more of blank.
Yeah. So this is also comes from my multidisciplinary background. I'm filling the blank. Much more cross-disciplinary integration between data science, domain expertise, and also human judgment. So if you can integrate all those three, then I think we have a much, much brighter future.
Absolutely. And that's going to be the future anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. Well, Aaron, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for joining us
Yeah,
today.
it's a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. We've been listening to Eren Ahsen at the Gies College of Business on our faculty spotlight.